Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. RFK Refugees podcast. We're back. We're back. It's good to be back. I think it's good to be back. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out at the end of the show how good it is to be back when we're John. John, how are you doing? I just want to make sure John is still awake.
I'm awake. I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm not currently changing any diapers. So that's a win.
That is a win.
Soccer.
It is a win.
Thanks for hopefully the fires kept burning while we were away. People still remember who we are, and if not, we can start from scratch again.
Yeah.
After 104.
start over from where we begin. Well, I guess I've tried to deal with not having a show and not having people listen to me that I got a dog, and decided that was the way to handle that.
Hey, nice, congrats.
I'm not willing to jump on the child bandwagon just yet. A lot of my friends are. A lot of my friends are.
It is a step up from a dog. It is a definitive. It's a definitive escalation of things to go to dog. From dog to human.
Yeah. So not there yet. But did get a dog, and we got some soccer to talk about. Soccer's back, everybody. Soccer is back, but the Bundesliga is back. John, have you been watching the wonders of the German soccer with first there was no crowds, and it was like watching like watching a U20 World Cup match or something like that, and then it became like, let's pump crowd noise into the stadium, and it's very weird. You hear this like crowd noise, and like you kind of think like you're watching like an older match, and then like they pan up on like corner kicks and stuff like that, and you just see empty seats and like crowd noise. It's really bizarre. But
what I had heard is that noise is only in the TV feed and is not being piped in the actual stadium.
That is probably right. That is probably
yes on the cardboard cutouts, which is hilarious, and also yes on the putting the jerseys on the seats, which is I don't mind. I'll tell you what, I've been watching KBO. So my child is 3 weeks old. Since we got home, KBO started. I've watched probably 20 Korean baseball games, and they have no fans. It's just quiet, but there's like 5 cheerleaders that they do coordinated dances, which is something. And I'm fine now. I'm fine. All of these sports coming back with no fans, I don't care. As long as you put crowd noise on the TV feed, I can pretend it'll be fine. Just keep doing it. Give me sports. I need sports now.
We'll see, because mostly, I mean, I watch soccer. I'm paying attention, doing all those things. I guess the one thing that I'm sort of paying attention to is if I'm doing something else, and I usually rely on the crowd noise getting higher sometimes to trigger me to look up. And when there isn't any of that, it's very difficult to sort of manage. I went and bought like the Fox Soccer Match Patch, was apparently is going away like in June, like it's just disappearing. Like I actually looked, I couldn't get it on my Apple TV, which I have. I had to use my Android phone, and I had to like cast it to my Samsung TV and like do a weird way, and the quality's not great. There is not only so before it was bad, because I tried this before it was bad with like no commentary, no score bug, so you're just literally there's just dudes with cameras and replays, and that's about it. No commentary, no nothing in these 2 Bundesliga games, because I picked a team. It was the first match I went to in Germany. It was FC Heidenheim. So I have to like watch the game, and I have to like pull up like FootMob, like, which is like the only app, and I have to like look at the score. Okay, what's the score? And like it's very, very, very weird to like watch a match with none of those things, like no score bug, commentary, nothing. I'm hopeful when it moves to ESPN, maybe they get some people, they throw $100 at somebody to do the match. I don't know how much it would be, but
it's wild to me that they just decided that, like, well, our rights are going away, so we're not going to spend any money. We're not going to have a halftime show. We're not going to have our own broadcast. We're going to use the British feed. We don't care. Even though, if you look at the ratings, this is like 800% higher than the highest German game ever shown on FS1. And then the game shown after that was the second most watched, and the third one was the third most watched. So, like, I would take advantage of. I mean, I guess you don't sink good money after bad, but I don't care. It's not like I'm like, I really need to hear Alexi Lawless's thoughts on this so I can live either way. But it's awesome that it's back. It's awesome that the defense has appeared to have not joined them, that they appear to have left the defense in quarantine. So offense is going crazy and everyone's scoring. I think it's got to be really hard for defenses to stay mentally tuned when there's no sound. Like they've been playing in front of crowds since they've been probably 14. So now they're in this entirely new environment where the stakes are theoretically high, but it feels like you're practicing. And it's it is the quality of defensive play has sort of borne that out.
I think there is one team I think right now that wishes that the coronavirus had canceled the season after their last 2 games, and that's Schalke right now. Oh, I think they're like 0 goals for, 7 against. They lost their I guess city rival or their big rival in Dortmund. And then they got lost to, I'm trying to remember who it was. I can't remember who the team they played, but they've been looked terrible.
Freiburg, wasn't it?
Yeah, Freiburg. Yep, you're right. I think you're right. Was it?
This is now a Bundesliga podcast, folks.
Yes.
Whatever league is happening, that's what we're doing. So MLS, we'll talk about that in a minute, but whoever it is, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm not getting up early enough to watch the Korean Soccer League, and I think it's on YouTube or something like that. Am I right about that? But
I'm not also doing that.
Yeah.
there's a Bundesliga on tomorrow as well.
Yes, there is. So. Tuesday and Wednesday. We get 2 weeks of it. I get to like have it on during lunch and and watch it. But
particularly since we're all kind of housebound, but I'm super housebound, so I can watch everything.
I can tell there was one TV group that's probably really happy about the ratings boost, and that's that's ESPN because they're getting the rights next year. So like you got to hope that some people maybe pick some teams, and who knows what football season's going to look like. Who knows what this whole thing's going to look like. Speaking of how the heck things are going to look like, there's a transition. MLS apparently is talking about returning, but don't tell anybody because apparently they'll fine you $1 million. So
secret.
So Don, you can go ahead and send that fine over. I'll get right on it for talking about it. I guess let's start with the obvious bad thing, which is the fact that the league is threatening $1 million in fines for leaking information about this plan to play in Orlando. Let's start there because that just broke today from The Athletic. I believe it was on that report. It seems to me really weird. It's like leaks happen in sports. People want to know. I get that they are, they're trying to make this happen while also trying to negotiate with the players union, about this, trying to, negotiate with them. And, I think anytime anything comes out and people react against it, then, the players union might have more on their side and everything. So I get that whole aspect of it, but just the excessive nature of it. This is going to happen. There isn't anything else to talk about right now. You have people that are worried about their jobs. There's already been front office staff on several teams that has been furloughed. I do not know how my lower division team here in Richmond is handling it. I am super concerned about what's going to happen with them. And for them, I don't even care. I don't even care about my season tickets. They can put them towards next year. They can charge me again next year. I just want to make sure they're doing okay. Honestly and truthfully, I think I paid my tickets. I just paid the full amount because I figured they need the money. Because it's hard running a lower division soccer team. But back to the story. I mean, is there any devil's advocate you can play with how MLS is handling this whole leaks thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in some ways, like I do understand the argument that this is a very fraught and perilous moment for MLS, and that they feel like this has to happen for the business case for the league to stay solvent in the way that it is. They've got to put some product on the field soon. So I get that Don Garber is very upset that he cannot appear to have this negotiation in good faith behind closed doors. With that said, it's hilarious that the memo saying if you talk about this, you're going to get in trouble got leaked the day that it came out. I love that. That's great. That's very, very good. Hiring an outside firm is stupid. That costs money. Like, you could probably just, the way you normally ferret this out is you tell different people different things that you think are the leakers, and then if that gets leaked, you know who it is. So, I mean, there are ways, to do this, but this is kind of stupid. Like, I think that overall, I don't think anyone's going to get fired. I don't think they're going to find anybody. I don't think they're going to find the leaker. The Athletic will continue. The Athletic, their tentacles are in MLS. They are throughout different teams. They're in the league office. Half of them used to work for the league and work writing for the website or anything else. So, I mean, just Don, this is the way it goes, man. You just got to buck up and figure out a way to get this done. But the plan itself is really something. If we want to talk about that too.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's get to the plan. So they're utilizing Disney. They are apparently going to utilize. They have the world. I think the ESPN Worldwide of Sports, massive campus, and they're apparently trying to get a tournament. There's some rumors that 5 games are going to count for the season. Not sure how I quite feel about that, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, it's an ambitious plan, and I guess here's the thing: if the Players Association signs off on it, if they are able to address, if everybody's able to do it safely as you can, you're able to not put people, I say not put people's lives in danger, but I think by doing this, you're putting people's health in jeopardy just by doing this. You're putting, how are you going to control hotel staff? How are you going to control everybody? But
that's the big thing.
Yeah,
that was drawn out in the article. That's the best point. I think that I think Alejandro Bedoya maybe drew out is that, okay, so we're locked in here for however long. That's okay. We could probably deal with that. But what about all the people cooking our food, cleaning the rooms, et cetera, et cetera? If they're not locked in here too, then the vectors for illness are just as high as they would be if we just had our family here. And then we would at least have our family here. So the fact that came up, that was a question asked to the league in response to the original proposal. They've not gotten an answer on that yet. And they haven't got an answer yet, theoretically, on their pay proposal. MLS proposed a 10% pay reduction, just gone. The counter was 5% reduction with a 5% deferral, which I think is fair because it's also stretched out over, I think, a couple years. So, I mean, if the league's first round negotiation lead was 10%, they could probably do 5 and 5. I think that's eminently fair and reasonable. Other than that, I mean, so let's talk about the sort of what this means for the season, right? Like what competition wise this means. So the idea is that the 4 MLS Cup playoff semifinalists last year, Atlanta, LAFC, Seattle, Toronto, will be top seeded in each group, except for Group A, which will get Orlando because they're the host, which is stupid.
That's stupid. That is really stupid.
Big whoop.
Come at me, Orlando, if you think it's not stupid.
If you've noticed at all in the Bundesliga, home teams are not winning games. Like there's no home field advantage when there's no fans. So cool, man, great. The real thing is about what does it mean for the matches. So some changes potentially. There would be 5 subs per match, but they'd only have 3 opportunities to make subs. So you'll have to double sub some of those opportunities if you want to get all 5 in. Games would start at 9 a.m., which rules for me. I like that. 8 p.m. and 10:30, all Eastern Standard. Cooling breaks, drink breaks. Here's where it gets weird. So the games, as you said, 5 of the games, I think the group stage games, because I think everyone will play 5 games, the results go towards the 2020 standing. So you've already got a couple games. Was it match day 3 when we stopped?
It was we had 2 matches played.
So there's already points on the board. We're going to do this weird off-site tournament with more players, more subs, 9 a.m. games. So that the weirdness now, as far as like the continuity of like fairness throughout the entire season, is already kind of a little wonky. I don't know how many games they're going to get in after this. I think that once you go to, instead of one site where you can control a lot of the variables, to 18 sites or whatever, it gets a lot more difficult to ensure the same safety protocols that they have in place here. Players are going to go to their homes with their families for the rest of the season as if they're playing at home. So it just gets a little crazy. I think you're seeing too, if you look at the testing that's going on in other leagues that are restarting, England, multiple players are testing positive and they're just pulling them out. And then they're testing, all the players around them. They're self-quarantining. The good thing is, it appears for the most part, from a player's perspective, if you are able to keep them away from their families, which sucks for them, but if you're able to, if they get it, they seem to have very good odds of it not causing long-term damage, not getting serious. They don't want to get it. Nobody wants to get it. They could get it going to the grocery store to pick up whatever. At least that would be their choice. But as far as any of these sports things go, like there's going to be some inherent risk. They've got to buy into it. Some people are going to get COVID while they're playing. It's going to happen. There's just no way to stop it happening. But the consequences are, what does that mean for the competition? For this proposal, it means that person goes home and we test more around it. But we're not stopping play. We're not shutting it down. We're just going to keep going and sort of try to wall that off. If you find out 60 minutes before a game, you can sub a player into your match day squad in the same position. If you find out 30 minutes before the game, you just don't get to fill the spot. But the 23 players are on the roster. The match day roster is not 23 players. So the benches are going to be very spread out and hilarious looking, and they're going to have to be in the stands probably.
Yeah, and I guess the biggest thing they have to answer is, will you be able to have enough tests to actually test everybody? That you would have to do daily tests. I mean, there's maybe even before a match, after a match. I mean, their testing capacity has to be there to make this work. That's why Germany's able to come back. Those guys are getting tested probably every day. Yeah. Anybody who leaves their hotel room, they are. I believe a coach went out to get toothpaste and came back, and they said, "Where'd you go?" And they said, "Oh, I went to the store." And I said, "Okay, well, you're in quarantine for 2 weeks now. We can't afford to have you, infecting anybody." I mean, that's just the world that we live in. The whole, I'm willing to, if they can come up with a way to do this safely, if they can do this in a capacity that's safe, I'm okay with it. I don't like the 5 games. I mean, it's almost like they're just trying to, we're going to have the season. Oh, we're going to do the season. And I'm like, no, you guys aren't, because we are not in a capacity where you're going to have fans in that game, fans in stadiums. It's not happening. It's not happening this year. Maybe it happens by March. Maybe. I mean, that's way far away in the future. I would rather them just say, you know what, we're not, and I know why they're not doing it. They still have season ticket money, all those things. I really wish they would say, okay, we're setting up we're a single entity group. We're setting up a fund. We're going to inherit, we're going to bite that bullet. You have the option of taking the money you put for season tickets and it'll go to next year, or you can, ask for a refund, whichever you choose. And then just say, we're going to do this tournament. We're going to get some games in. We're going to get something in this year. It's going to be an invitational tournament. Have a Mickey Mouse on a trophy for all I care. And just, we're going to play this tournament. It's going to be a month long. They're going to be games. That way we can, connect with our fans. We're going to try something new. That's fine. I get that. And then just say, okay, that's it. We're shut down. There's no MLS season, no MLS Cup. We're just going to, go to next year. It's a crappy situation, but I think it's the only thing. It's the only thing that you can do at this point. And I do not foresee any season happening this year. They've already canceled the All-Star game. They've already canceled the Leagues Cup. They've already canceled the Campeones Cup. Liga MX has already canceled their spring season. We'll see if they have more TV money on their side than MLS does. And that's the biggest thing, is just MLS teams do not do well unless there are fans in the stands. And I think there are several owners would be like, yeah, let's go with empty stadiums. I don't think, the Hunts or, Atlanta United or any of those guys are going to be, they might say, let's go ahead and do it. But I know DC definitely probably relies a lot on that ticket revenue. Cincinnati probably does too. So I just do not foresee this happening until next year. And then the crazy thing happens is, if no season happens, you have 2 more expansion teams coming in. So then you have all these other questions about how does that work, or who knows at this point.
I think they'll have it. I think that they will have the games in the stadiums with no fans, and I think it'll suck, and they're going to lose gate, but they're going to have to do it to keep the product viable for TV. The thing that bothers me is that pretending this is a regular season, and having the playoffs and calling it MLS, calling them the MLS Cup champion, and having these weird games in an offsite count towards the actual season. I think you just call this what they're calling it, MLS is back, or whatever. But have this thing that exists in a bubble. And if they're able to figure out a way to play the games for the rest of the way, then okay. But still, it won't be the right amount of games. It'll be an abbreviated season. There will be no fans. It will not be right. what I want is them to just acknowledge that this is not a regular thing.
Yeah.
If you win if you win the playoffs this year, okay, whatever. It's not real. You're not a real MLS Cup champion. You didn't play all the games. You didn't travel. It's just a different thing. I'm glad they have it because I want to watch it, but I think it's more important for the integrity of the rest of the league. For sports care a lot about, comparability of seasons, right? This is the best team ever. This is the best season ever. And when you throw this weird thing into the mix and be like, well, they won the MLS Cup. So we only played 9 games, but they won MLS Cup. So they're a champion just like anybody else is. So that's the thing I really want to see them figure out a way. And it's the same thing as every other league. MLB is getting around the testing thing by building their own testing facility and like furnishing all of their own supplies so they can test all of their players an infinite amount of times just because they're MLB and they've got the ability to do that. MLS probably doesn't have that.
Yeah.
They're probably doing something else. But either way, this is, I think we want soccer. I just think we want to have it in a way that makes cohesive sense and doesn't disadvantage DC United, since we're a DC United podcast. That matters to us.
I mean, God, do you just remember back we were talking about the season? I'm trying to even remember how I felt about this DC team coming into here, and it just seems bizarre. This whole thing is bizarre and weird, and I don't know how any sport, everybody's, the next talk is going to be probably not now, but certainly by June, July is going to be football and everything like that. I mean,
it'd be huge.
Yeah. I mean, the windfall is going to be huge. The disadvantage I think MLS has, and why I think you could see them wait and just say, you know what, it's going to be too much of a, maybe they have TV contracts they'd have to renegotiate. Maybe they'd have to extend the current contract they have for another year, figure something out. Under the current rate, I'm sure it would take a revenue hit for sure. And I can understand the need of getting soccer back and trying to finish the season and do something. But I mean, other sports have the purview; they have to make so much more on TV money. Baseball probably won't care if there are 0 fans in the stands because they know they're going to get their 2 million people watching on TV. Your NBA, your NHL, all not going to care if it's empty crowds. Would it make a better atmosphere? Sure. But right now it's there's nothing else. People want to watch their hockey, or people want to watch basketball. TV rights deal. MLS doesn't have that. They need those fans in the stands. I'm not convinced they're going to do this thing in Orlando. I think as let's just get soccer back. Let's get 5 games into the season, and then we're going to reevaluate after that, and we'll see. And maybe things will be better. But I don't see it happening. I think gate is too important for this league. Gate receipts are too important for these leagues and these teams.
Oh, for sure. I just think that they'll lose even more by doing nothing. Even if they go through this and it doesn't work, and they've at least they went down trying. I think that we're gonna see something. I don't know if it'll be how long it'll be and how many games it'll be, but they're all going to try because money is money, and even if it's a little bit of money, it's better than no money.
Yeah,
and it's not like any of them are insured, so they're all just wearing it right now.
Yeah,
I think that also their TV rights are due 2021 or through 2021.
I think it's they know they didn't want people signing. It's 2021 is the year that they're gonna, I think, have to re-sign it. So I think that to next year is the last year, I think. Or no, or is it 2022? Is it through 2022? I can't remember. It's just a long man. Sorry, we're out of practice right now.
Right, we're a little out of practice from knowing about TV rules because it's May and there's no soccer and hasn't been any soccer for a long time.
Maybe producer will help us out. This is why we somewhat pay him the big bucks. No.
So anyway, all in all, this Orlando thing is probably going to happen as soon as they figure out what the pay situation is. And maybe the hotel situation is. They'll come to an accommodation for that because the money, they're not too far apart on the money, and they can figure something else out for that. It's too important to the league to they would like to be first. I don't know if they're going to be first because they've still got NWSL, for instance, restarted their allowed training camp to restart today.
But they're still
also going to do. Go ahead.
They're still local. I don't think the Spirit are able to practice.
They're not.
Because
it's as dictated by local. So some teams are getting lucky because they live in states where they're not. There's no regulation there. So bully for Utah and probably not too many other teams.
Sorry
Speaking
about
of NWSL,
Yes.
so let's talk about them.
Yes.
They're going to do the same thing. They want to do a tournament as well. A couple notes about the tournament, though. I believe, as the last thing I saw 2 days ago, again, I don't sleep anymore and I barely read the news, but it appears that the U.S. national team players are not interested in participating in this. Just not, I think, based on the current situation with U.S. soccer, which is, again, synonymous. NWSL and U.S. soccer are pretty much the same thing. All the funding comes from them. So I think that as a means of like maybe sticking it to them a little bit, we'll say I'm not going to show up. But they want to do a tournament, a group play, where only one team would get eliminated before it gets out of group play, which cracks me up because it's such a small league. But so the top 8 of 9 go on, and then the Challenge Cup championship game would be July 28th. So the season, quote unquote, would be about a month.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're I think that they're basically saying this is it.
Well, I think the biggest problem is they can. Does the NWSL have a union? I know the U.S. women's players have a union.
They have a players' association, and Tori Huster is the rep.
Yeah. Okay. So they do have a players' association. So I thought maybe that might be sort of playing into it, but
they're very. It's a very friendly. It's not an adversarial relationship.
Yeah, and I think also with the NWSL and the players. So, I mean, with the NWSL, there's only 9 teams. MLS has 26 teams, 18. They've got a much bigger. So it's not surprising to me that this is able to be organized a little quicker and being able to come together. They probably still have some of the same questions they have to answer, be leaving families and everything like that. But it's not as huge of an issue. And I think for a lot of these players, I'm sure they're wondering where their next paycheck is going to become, especially some of the players on the lower spectrum. They're probably not a lot of them are making a whole lot of money. It's not surprising to me that the U.S. Women's national team players are like, "Hey, we're not doing this. Forget this," because most of their money is going to come from the U.S. soccer and the women's national team matches. That's where a large portion of their check's going to come, not from these NWSL matches. So why are they putting themselves at risk? But some of the other players who are not national team players, I can imagine them being like, yeah, we want to go out, we want to play soccer, and we want to get paid. So
it's not unlike anybody else that has a business right now that the lights are going to turn off. They need to work to live, and no one is giving them money to be able to survive in the interim. So I imagine, particularly for these people who already aren't making a lot of money, like a little bit of anything is better than nothing. It's sort of the same story as before. The challenge there is, I think that 56% of players have had exposure to 5 or more people living outside their household during the past couple months. So more than half of the people, and this is actually kind of connects to the previous point. Ted, you and I are working from home. I'm on paternity leave, but otherwise I would have been working from home, and we can pretty easily adhere to these rules and social distance, no problem. If you're making $18,000 a year playing soccer, and then that goes away, and that also provided your housing, and now that's gone, you gotta go do stuff and make money. You gotta live. So that's it. They were not doing that. They were not social distancing the way other people who had the luxury to do so were doing. So this is testing obviously here important for sure. There's a lot of things they're going to have to shake both of these things out. I think it's interesting that all of these negotiations are so public. Mm-hmm. Like, it's great for us because it gives us something to talk about. And just like in MLS, like, I guess once something gets sent to the union and then the union sends it to all of their players, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Yeah. But it's very hard to negotiate this complicated thing in public. And maybe it benefits the players. Maybe they get better concessions, sort of like more accommodations from the league. But they have all the power. The players have a lot of power. The only thing they don't have power over is the fact that they need to eat and need money to eat. And it's unlikely they had a big strike / work stoppage fund. But the owners, they need games to keep this league viable, however they decide to do it. So yeah, it's a crazy. I think we'll have a lot more clarity here in the next probably 2 weeks, maybe even less. But if I had to bet, that I think we're going to have both of these. I think both of these things will be happening this summer.
Hey, let's talk about the EMLS finals, everybody. I want to talk about that.
I believe Ted and I are in a some sort of FIFA tournament.
Yeah, we're
Dreamed
I think we're gonna depending on who plays. I think we're both gonna get our
first
butts.
round exits.
Yeah, first round
Real
exits
likely.
probably for both of us. For both of us on that one. Do we want to talk about the travesty that was the best MLS kit and the 1998 DC United kit, which could argue the 99 away kit with the white and the black stripes. I think it was 99. Should have won over the black kit. There's some people who argue that. I argue on that side. That's a great kit. The white one of the few white kits that actually looked really good for DC. Lost to a kit that hasn't even been worn in a game yet, the Miami one, which was just a travesty of justice. And it's still frustrating to me that it's very much like the classic, the old history. It's like, even like after all this great content we're getting, these old games we're watching, I loved watching the 04 final with Aleko, and even though there was so many technical issues, it was still so fun to watch both Taylor Twellman and Aleko Eskandarian kind of reminisce about those games. And we're seeing all these classic games. I'm watching games I've never really personally, I've actually never seen before. Like I've never sat down and watched, because I was 6-7 years old, and well, I wasn't as attentive to soccer as I am now. So it's been a heck of a lot of fun to watch it. And then to see something like that happen it brings me back down. It's like, man, people just don't know or don't care. People are just clicking Miami because they know Beckham owns it. There's just
bots, man. It was bots. Don't worry about it. It's just like when Seattle used to win Gill of the Week every week.
Well,
There's a sophisticated botnet they aim at this thing.
I mean, maybe it's bots. There probably some
Everything's bots.
There's probably a bot element to it, but there is an element of bigger fan bases in these clubs like Seattle. Seattle won best jersey, by the way, which is, the jersey they chose is a good looking jersey.
I don't hate that jersey, at least.
Yeah, but it's very clear that there's a I didn't even look at the finals. Once the DC jersey lost, I was like, all right, I'm out of it. And they let the two
illegitimate election.
What's that?
An illegitimate election. They're going to have to bring in observers next time they do this.
No, all I want is I just think in MLS it's just with fan votes anyway. It's like Atlanta, Seattle, and Miami now, I guess, is going to be a part of that. They're going to be the ones that are going to win everything from now on. I know Montreal has like a really robust like voting network. I remember like Rooney's half field goal lost to some random Montreal goal, and it was like crazy. Anyway,
got a question here from Mark Rickling.
Yes. By the way, call us, everybody. Call us right here, number down here. Give us a call if you want to talk about. Phone lines are open.
Mark's a good follow if you on Twitter. I like if you like his politics, which I happen to like. It's a good follow. I said DC United is one of the few MLS teams taking the CARES Act small business PPP loan grant. Thoughts? I think that everyone should have taken it, because what has happened in the subsequent, since the original authorization of these loans. Originally, there was a requirement that 70% of the amount of the loan had to be used on players or staff salaries, or it was going to convert from a grant into a loan with an interest rate. And then lobbyists started to push back against Treasury about that, and now they're basically saying, as long as you try to do that, it will not be. We won't turn it into a loan. It'll be a grant, as long as you have to make a good faith effort to do so, and we're not actually going to check up on it. So, yeah, they all should have taken it. And I think they took it, and then they still cut a bunch of staff. So who knows? I think that if there was already a challenge in understanding the inner workings of the single entity MLS, it's not gotten better. Like this sort of crisis has not sort of increased the transparency as far as what they're thinking about. I hope that they're able to bring all the staff back that they let go. I know that revenue obviously has taken an enormous hit, but I hope that when things get back to normal, that the league in the whole, and DC United specifically, are not long-term hampered by this. And they were already running on a shoestring budget in the front office and in all the departments. And hopefully it doesn't become a flip-flop budget, whatever would be less than a shoestring budget.
And the crazy thing about it is you finally felt like this year, and this is what kills me a little bit. And I'm going to take maybe a little bit on the side of DC. I think it's very easy for us to say that's bad, that's awful. They should, if they're going to take one of those loans or grants, they should keep everybody. I understand that sentiment 100%. I'm not someone who's going to besmirch that. And these are guys, I know these are guys that are millionaires. They're guys that have means and have money, and I understand all the sentiments. Without knowing the books, without knowing everything else, that makes it hard for me to be critical. But you finally sort of felt, and we felt it here on the show, about the team kind of opening up to us, to a lot of other fan related content and fan related shows, and the staff. You could tell that there were more people behind, in the front office now. It's not just Lindsey Simpson and two other people. It was an actual like group that they were actually hiring. Now I'm very much worried that's all going to go to a very shoestring budget, not just on the field. Who knows what it's going to look like on the field. I don't think DC
on the field. Hold on, I just wanted to do one of the TED like transitions. Speaking of what it's going to be like on the field, a player was linked to DC United very recently, who apparently also has a $20 million target on his back. Despite the fact that he is 32, he weighs too much for a soccer player, and just tried to do well in England and did not do well at all, and then retreated back to Italy. Gonzalo Higuain, formerly Chelsea, currently Juventus, formerly a bunch of other teams, has been linked with DC United. We all got excited. There were a lot of articles about it. Ted got excited. I got kind of excited. And then they interviewed him, and then he said, "Oh, I didn't know about this. Interesting. I didn't know I was going to DC United." So what do we think? What do we think about? All right, let's pretend we live in a world where this is going to happen. Would you want it to happen?
Sure. I mean, what's the difference between this and them signing Wayne Rooney? They were the same sort of fitness concerns. And
I don't know if Higuain's going to have quite the same gate effect or TV effect that Wayne Rooney had.
Agreed. But I still think he has some sort of effect, and if he plays well, then I think he has a potentially bigger effect. I mean, I'll agree with you. I'm not sure he's going to have. He's not a well-known. Among soccer circles, he's a well-known. He's a well-known figure, but. I will agree with you. I'm not sure. A bunch of people are going to turn up. It's not going to be the same. While the Italian league is certainly on ESPN and it does have sort of a following, of Cristiano Ronaldo and everything like that. It doesn't have the following. It doesn't certainly have the access, especially for a while, as say the Premier League, as even the Bundesliga, I would say.
It's in last place.
Yeah.
If La Liga gets its head out of its butt and stops broadcasting on
BN,
then Italy will be the last place major league in Europe.
In Europe, yeah. But I do think it's interesting. I think DC. Maybe it doesn't surprise me that Gonzalo Higuain doesn't know about it. A lot of players leave that stuff up to their agents and. Maybe I'm sure there are other teams that are going to swoop in because, and especially look to Italy because Italy's has always been leagues that are heavily leveraged, really all over Europe, to be honest. And they're going to be fire sales on players. DC has felt the effects of that. Chris Durkin was a fire sale. Chris Durkin was basically told the Belgian team, increase the fee and you can let him go for $1 million. We wanted to, but we'll let him go. It was very clear in interviews that they were like, yeah, we really wanted the 1 point, at least 1.5 or something like that, but they chose to let him go. So there's going to be all over. There are going to be some. You will know the clubs. You will know the clubs out there that are the most in need or the most in trouble when they start selling big players for maybe not just a little bit lower fees. Like they sell a player that is would have been worth, 50-60 million for 20 million. And they're just trying to just dump players to get capital back. So you're going to see that all over. And I think it doesn't surprise me that Italy's they've been the most hit on the coronavirus and they're going to take a long time to come back.
They're already training. Some teams are training.
Well, they're already training, but there is still a massive impact as far as the health. I'm not sure. You're talking about crowds coming back and everything. and everything in Italy. I'm just saying that there's going to be a financial impact, even if they get out on the field, even if they get players played, even if the games are on TV. The financial impact, I think, is going to be astronomical on the Italy side. So don't be surprised if there hits, and this goes all over. I think Germany. In England,
literally everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, I've spent a lot of time, the little bit of time that I have. I've been sort of just following the market and stuff and seeing what's going on, and how it's so insane to me that the market continues to go up, and the numbers of people unemployed continues to go up, and those don't seem to affect each other. And there's reasons for that. Well, we won't get into it on the soccer podcast, but the effects of this are going to be so long and wide reaching and deep, and the amount of people who used to come to games, maybe single ticket buyers who used to sit in the cheap seats in the supporters group, who might have been a waiter or might have worked at a bookstore, or did those jobs are just gone, and they're not coming back for quite a while. So there's a ginormous economic dislocation that's happening in every country in the world. But we're United States, DC United podcast. It's happening here. We just assume, for the people who have been lucky enough to not have been economically touched by this in a major way, we just sort of say, like, all right, well, when it's safe, let's just get the things running again. I'll buy my season tickets again. I'll buy MLS Live or whatever. I'll buy ESPN Plus. We'll be great. I'll give you the money. We'll be great. But a large chunk of those people aren't coming back because life is changing for them, and they've got to figure out, am I going to go work in the Amazon warehouse or the Walmart warehouse? Because small businesses that used to exist in my area are gone now, and I have to eat and live. So I guess I could drive Uber and hope that nobody has COVID in the backseat. Like it is a doomsday situation for a large sector of the economy, and that's going to have a knock-on effect for all these leagues.
Yeah, and it's going to be every league around the world. You look at all the teams that are sprouting up in USL and the lower. I think the knock-on effect, I think because MLS is a single entity league and they have basically combined it, I think, and they were insulated heavily. They had some of their biggest growth post the market crash in 2008. I think there were some stadiums that maybe were in the works. I think DC felt an effect with the stadiums when the market crash happened. But MLS kept growing despite one of the worst economic crises until now, basically. So I think MLS has very much insulated themselves in that regard. My biggest concern are the lower league teams, the USL Championship, the USL League One teams. My team in Richmond, I'm very concerned about. But even these new clubs that are sort of sprouting up, I mean, how many of them are actually going to follow through? Is USL going to suffer a recourse? Will MLS teams pull their pull their MLS 2 teams out of USL? I could see that happening with some. DC has even, I think they've requested to defer their lease payment on the property out in Loudoun. So that's a knock-on effect, and I think DC will eventually be good for the money, but at least I hope so. Otherwise, we have several questions and concerns. But I mean,
those are sunk costs. I think there's a difference between the sunk costs of the facility and some of the situations where these USL is growing at a ridiculous rate, at a rate that is unsustainable and somewhat ridiculous. Like, there's no way that this city can support this team. It's great that someone wants to try, and it's great that USL will take the expansion fees, little as they are, to do so. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be teams folding. USL is going to have to reorganize. There's too many teams there, and like I was just talking about before about the audience that you're reaching, non-major metropolitan areas are going to find that capital is going to be challenging for those locations. They're still rich people, and rich people can still own and operate teams, but it's about who those customers are and who's able and comfortable to go to these games in the future and be in the stands. Even I think that, like, even after there's a vaccine and even after the numbers go down, I think eventually people will get back to normal, but there's always going to be some people that are just that this has made an impact on their psyche in ways that they're like, I'm just not going to go to large groups of people. Mm-hmm. It's too dangerous. I don't want to do it. I may not get COVID, but I'll get something else. And in the end, 5, 10 years, however many years from now, we'll get back to some version of, a society. But like, it just doesn't seem like anytime soon. And it doesn't seem, and there's some people that don't want to take the vaccine. There's 25% of people in polls that if a vaccine comes out, they don't want to take it. So even it's so hard to predict the long-term future. All I can do right now is say that I think they're probably going to have these things in the summer, and I think the leagues will probably stay around. But the next year, 2021, is just as fraught and just as in peril as this. This year.
I will be shocked if MLS even comes back, or USL. I think USL is already talking about canceling their season. I heard a rumor from a source. I'm not going to put the vitality of the source, but the rumor is that USL is already talking about canceling their season. Like, they're already at that point. And I don't know, who knows what the effect of that is going to be on those teams. If you think that we are going to start normal in March, I don't know. I don't know. There has to be a lot of developments in a vaccine has to be out, has to be readily available. There's already questions about that. It's a whole process that has to happen before we can even talk about games. I'm not sure. I will buy maybe a little bit into the effect, maybe in some areas of the world. The United States has been if you've watched some of the videos and some of the things that have happened as states have opened up, the United States is just kind of a weird breed. I think there'll be some people that might stay away, but I'm not sure it's going to be a huge impact. And I think it's more going to have to do with the economic impacts, paying for a ticket to go out to a DC game, when you don't have a job. There are a lot of people that we're friends with that go to games that I know are hurting right now. They've been furloughed. They've lost their job. They've had to scramble. They work in the restaurant. They work as a server. There's a lot of those people that are going to be badly, badly affected. For other people, I think that's going to have more of an impact than sort of the biological impact here in the United States. I could be wrong. But I think that based on what I'm hearing, based on what I've seen, and what I'm seeing on the news, and what I'm seeing on a lot of these events that have kind of happened, or these openings in certain states, it seems to me that America is almost somewhat tone deaf to some of what's going on. I'm not saying that's everybody, and not saying that everybody's not conscious, but
there's a big partisan divide. If you look at the polls, if you look at both in terms of and we're going to just talk about COVID now, because there's not a lot of there wasn't a lot of soccer stuff, so it's all sort of related. So we're going to keep talking about it. If you look at the people who are supportive of the lockdown, it's actually, it's like 80% of the country. So the people that are bringing guns into Michigan State House and yelling at Gretchen Whitmer, that is not a sizable portion. They just get a lot of good media coverage. Mm-hmm. They just happen to be on the news all the time. Now, like you, I saw the Ocean City clip I saw Governor Northam on the beach doing selfies with people with no masks on, with less than 6 feet. Not great there, Ralph. But as far as, I feel like in general, people, if you look at consumer confidence, way low. People don't want to spend money because they think that this is going to get worse before it gets better, and it's still not good. The number of people who think they're going to get it outstrip the number of people who are going to get it. But we've all sort of, and it's not that it's not dangerous and super contagious and all those things, but like, we have all internalized that risk as very high to us, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what your comorbidities are. Many people, particularly if you're okay with the lockdowns, which is again 80%, or at least was 80% a couple weeks ago, everyone assumes the worst. And the repercussions of that are, even if you open up, you're not going to go to the store that's open. You're still not going to spend money because you think the economy is going to go bad. And even if these games open up and allow people to go to these things, like Arizona said that Major League Sports can come here and you can have people in the stands if you want. Like, no one's going to do that. No one's going back to the restaurant. So even the things that are open are going to fail because the large majority of people either don't feel safe because they're not safe, or don't feel safe because they assume more risk than there is. and it's totally normal and totally reasonable to do that based on, what we know and what we don't know. But I just feel like there's just going to be a serious problem and a serious effect on all these leagues, on all the industries around the leagues. Stadium workers. There's too many things, and we had a question sort of in the comments about, what about the test consumption by these leagues and the money spent on this tournament. The testing, it appears, and Ted, tell me if you've heard differently. Like, it appears now that the real, at least in Virginia, that the gating on testing was materials. Materials seem to have been largely conquered, and now it's about finding enough people to test. Like, they're like, we would want to test 10,000 a week. We have the materials, but there aren't people presenting at that rate. And doctors, up until maybe 3 weeks ago, were told, based on the CDC recommendations of who should get tested, it was only people who had been to China. It was only people who had direct contact with someone who had been tested positive. So, like, I don't think the testing is as large of a, like, I don't think that because MLS is testing, somebody in Idaho is not going to get a test now. I think we're past that point in the supply chain.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Yeah.
We're far afield from soccer now at this point, and
yeah,
that's what you get.
Yeah. I mean, what else? I mean, we kind of talked about we kind of hit the big news stories, the more recent news stories. I mean, it's a tough situation. Someday, hopefully, we are back to normal. We are back to. Sorry, y'all. Hopefully, we're back to normal. Hopefully, we are back to some sort of normality. Some sort of. I miss games. I miss as I'm sorry, my nose is acting up right now. There must be pollen. There's talk in the chat about pollen, and I guess it's coming.
I thought Ted got very emotional all of a sudden. I just want to go back to the games. I just want to go to a game.
I am emotional because I want to be, watching the games in Germany is fine, but it's like it doesn't beat live soccer. Producer boy actually coming through with a question from, I think it's from Mark again. To steer things back to DCU, thoughts on Andy Bush leaving?
You took out the part where he complimented my answer on PPP.
Yeah, because because you don't need that much. You have a beautiful baby girl upstairs. That's all the.
Sure, you can hear her. Yeah, thoughts on Andy Bush leaving. I think I tweeted about this. I'm bummed out because I had a little interaction with him, and I found him to be very easy to deal with, and again, I think, like Ted had mentioned, interested in sort of fan-led media. I think everybody sort of felt that. I also found out that he's married to an LPGA player, and he lives half-time in Southern Florida. So I get it, dude. Particularly right now with the team in its current straits and MLS in its current situation. Yeah, I'd go home. Yeah, I don't need this either. I get sort of mailing in and trying to go home. I get that. But I think it's a loss overall. There was some conversation like, well, he was behind the Flow Sports thing. Yeah, that sucked. Okay, true. But overall, from a self-interested perspective, I thought what he was doing was good overall. He was making hires too in the media and PR department that I think will bear out and do well.
No, it stinks. It stinks to lose, I think, anybody right now in the season, because the team, as I've said, the team has started to do the right things, and I've seen people, I've seen the usual loud voices on Twitter talking about how bad things are with the team, this and this and this, and it feels like it's starting to come back. Is like all this talk about about when Gonzalo Higuain, the team's not gonna have any money, they're not gonna, and I'm like, you don't know that. Do you have access to Jason Levian and his other owners, books? Do you have access to DC United's books? No, you don't know what they have. You don't know how much. But it is sad to see a lot of these guys leave, because I felt like there was a development in the idea that they were going to building rapport with the fan base. I still loved the first game and seeing all and just like there was a responsiveness to it. I think, what was it? There was the John Harkes photo hanging up on the stadium, and it was the old. It was like from like a testimonial match, and it's very clear that somebody was poised with putting this all together, and they were given the task to do it. They went in, they found what they thought looked like good pictures, and they looked at, oh, that looks good. Go ahead and put it up. And then someone, hey, it's like, hey, that's a weird one to put up. And then they changed it out, and it was that type of responsiveness, I think, that I was like very impressed with. And I think a lot of that comes from hiring more people and having people who can actually respond and who can do these types of things. It's just sad that I'm worried we're going to be kind of reversing back, and I think Andy Bush is unfortunately a part of that. Maybe this happens regardless, considering he's splitting his time. As soon as he gets a good offer down in Florida, he might be, jumping back. So it's sad. And I think their social media person left. I enjoyed her short time there. I thought she was doing a good job of at least bringing something back. I think a lot of fans were, again, the negative crowd was going off on her a little bit. And I thought
promotion. She left for a promotion.
She left for a promotion. That's true. But I mean, still, it's this idea of people leaving who I could see things building. Now people have left, and now who knows what's going to happen? Who knows?
Let me kick through some quick links roundup here before we wrap the show up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we went this long. This is impressive.
We're professionals, John. Professionals.
Yes, indeed. Even though we kicked the cobwebs off.
Yes.
Daniel Sturridge, a potential signee, despite the fact that, so apparently I remember him being mentioned last year. He had a pretty good year at is it Trabzonspor?
Yeah. But there was the whole gambling thing. I think that kind of.
Yeah, but he's not Pete Rose. I think he may have done it once. I think it's less of a I'm less concerned about the gambling and more concerned, but he's probably past it. If he was like $175,000, I'm sure fine.
Yeah,
he won't be there. I'm sure he'll ask for more. So that will not happen, even though it was being rumored. I recommend everyone go check out to plug our competitor. Go check out Jason Anderson's story on the 2013 U.S. Open Cup.
Definitely.
He walks through the season as it was, which Jesus Christ, it was rough. But then also talks about all of the games in the tournament, and it sort of, I haven't thought about the season purposefully in a long time. I sort of just locked that one in the mind palace and never let it out again after going through it in person, other than the win. But walks through all of the games along the way in the Open Cup. And I also forgot some of the way that game went, how crazy the second half was, how many chances RSL had to score and should have scored but didn't score. Just like a team of a garbage team becoming a team of destiny in the second half of that game. Super wild. So go check that out. Really, really good read. Bill Hamid actually retweeted and said, great piece. So that's all you need to know there from that perspective. And two more quick links. Stadium Journey, Greg Koch, who is a supporter of the show, writes for Stadium Journey, and they put out their 2020 DC area venue rankings, and Audi Field came in second. And I think
they have positive things to say about FedEx Field. That's my only complaint about that.
and Soccerplex came in ninth. Wow, it came in ahead of Capital One Arena and other places that I've not been. FedEx 14th. I think that's good. It's last place.
It better be. It better be last place.
If nothing else going on about that, then that's true. We have one quick question here before. Dan says, "Can I ask a wild ass fantasy question? Mario Götze is leaving Dortmund, much to my heartbreak. Would you want to bring him to DC, and how would you use him? He does like the US already."
Yeah.
He does. I would take him. He's like what, 33, maybe 30, probably even younger.
See, yeah, he's 27. Is that right?
What? Is he really?
Hold on a minute. Hold on a second. No, we got to look this up. There's no way.
He is 27.
Jeez. Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, I'd take him.
Yeah, we could find a spot for him.
But sure. I have a strong feeling that there are plenty of teams in Europe that will take a 27-year-old Mario Götze right now.
Yeah, this is not a player they're kicking out the door. This is a player that it appears they could not come to terms with for the most part. So it says right here, if you search him, Chelsea in potentially on him, other teams in Germany looking.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure.
Probably not coming this way.
Nah, probably not yet. Couple more years. That'd be crazy if they could. That'd be crazy if they could lock him down. But
and the last thing I have here before we close is a advertisement for another company making a T-shirt, which I already bought. Bailiwick Clothing Company whose name triggers me because that is a word that people in DC say all the time, and in no other city do they say that word. I have had discussions about this. I have done polls. Everyone says bailiwick in DC. And anyway, getting all aside the point here, they have a cool shirt that I bought for it supports Ben's Chili's Bowls Foundation to give food, I think, to frontline healthcare workers, and it looks pretty cool. And I think I want them to keep making DC United stuff. So buy it. It's not very expensive.
Yeah.
Well, that's all of the links around the house here, unless you've got something else.
I don't have anything else. Mitchell and Ness, please come out with the classic DC jersey gear soon.
Oh yeah, that good point. Yes, I have put aside some money in my sock to make this happen. So the sooner they get it going, the sooner I'm spending it.
Yeah, exactly. I guess thank you all so much for those of you that tuned in. I'm not going to look at the numbers. I'm going to assume it's like 300 people like listening to us right now.
At least. I think we broke it.
We broke the record. Yes, we broke the record. Maybe one of these days. One of these days. We're building back up. And thank you all so much for listening. Thanks to our Patreon supporters for supporting the show. We're going to try to come up with some more content to come out with. Hopefully there'll be some games maybe soon that we can like talk about and get excited about, and we can like talk games. and we can do like roster breakdowns and everything like that, and we can have guests on and everything, and we can pretend things are normal.
We can remember who is on the roster anymore. I think that is gone. Yeah, the FIFA tournament. Apparently
Leonard Pahoy is still on the roster, right? That checks out.
I think Ben Olsen's still playing. Also,
Roy Capene.
Roland Capene.
Roland Capene still on the roster. Yeah, that's true.
The FIFA tournament that Ted and I are theoretically in is this week. We will tweet about it.
Yes.
I don't know. We're gonna stream it. We're gonna take our licks in public. I think
we're gonna do the live Twitch stream of it. Sure. And we'll have audio. Maybe if there's a way we could have like one of like you on the like when you're playing, I'm commentating on you, and we could figure something out like that. Maybe that'd be cool.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yes.
And, we're gonna come back when we have more things to talk about. May not be next week, but it'll be soon.
It will be soon. Until next week, we will catch you all down the line. Vamos.
Vamos. All right.